You can literally just decide to start showing up as someone differently right now. And the only person that's ever been in your way of doing that is you. So I'm gonna tell you guys a story that I have never said out loud. When I got very real with myself last year on why I wanted to show up differently, shit got very real. I want every single fucking person who has ever fucked with me to regret the day that they did that. Your glow up will always be about how you see yourself. Your journey is far too big and important to be defined by someone who tried to sabotage it. The best and sweetest revenge is not about what you do to them. It's about who you become without them. To say that you are in for a treat with this video is an understatement, because I put together a full guide on how to rebrand your life with a vengeance. When I'm through with you, 2025 will not know what to do with you. Hello, my love. I'm your girl Rima, your tough loving big sis who takes her own advice. And I'm about to take you through the 7 steps that I'm currently following as we speak to rebrand with a vengeance. Rule number 1 is to assume a new identity. This is literally the most important step because it's foundational. Who is it that you keep saying you want to be? I've said it before and I will say it as many times as I need to say it. I need you to stop becoming her and just decide that right now you are embodying her. And there was actually a book I read last year called The Alter Ego Effect that if you're all in this bag of wanting to rebrand, I think would be a great first read for 2025, where you just literally assume an alter ego, because that kind of helps you break from the patterns that you're so used to and the beliefs that you've already attached to the old identity, and gives you a new identity to attach to that will make change and new patterns so much more easy to create. It's very important, my love, that you stop projecting this person out as a future self. One thing that I've learned through rebranding literally like 10 times last year is that change is challenging, but it's very simple. You can literally just decide to start showing up as someone differently right now. And the only person that's ever been in your way of doing that is you. One of my lovely subscribers actually sent in a question, and I want to read it because I think it's so spot on for rule number 1. And it's, can you make a video about how to separate yourself from the version of you that you think you should be or need to be or even want to be, and how to embrace who you actually are? I want you to divorce yourself from any external opinions on who you should be. I literally want you to sit in a conference room, visualize yourself, not literally, but like visualize yourself in a conference room with yourself, okay? And there's just this whiteboard and there's ample time and space to think and to just decide on who you want to be leaving that room. And I do not want you to factor in anyone else's opinions. I don't care if it's your freaking partner. I don't care if it's your kids. I don't care if it's your parents. Nobody else gets a say on who you decide to be. Oftentimes what we'll find is it's really us standing in our own way, because the expectations that others put on us are real. I'm not trying to tell you that people aren't trying to tell you to be one way or the other, but it is always your choice on whether you care to listen to those expectations. Sometimes for very good reason, we do decide to listen to those expectations. For example, when I show up on a work call, there are certain expectations that others have of me that I am agreeing to listen to because I care what they think and I want to care what they think, and it's beneficial for me to care what they think. So understand that if you are feeling the weight of people pleasing or feeling the weight of showing up in a way that others expect you to be, you are the one making the choice to care more about their opinions of you than your opinion of yourself. So you just need to get to the point where you care about your opinion of yourself 1% more than theirs. And once you get to that tipping point, everything is going to change for you, but trust and understand that you can kind of force that tipping point. Like, you can get mad enough, and this is why I think revenge is such a good impetus for a rebrand. You can get mad enough at yourself that you've been listening to who everyone else and their mother wants you to be, that you decide today is the day that I'm just showing up completely differently. And I really, really, really want you to take that time on your own to just draw out that version of you. Stop projecting her out into the future too. Like, you don't need 6 months to become her. You literally just need to embody the feeling state and the attitude and in the beliefs, in the actions of the version of you that you actually want to be. You need to start embodying that version of you as soon as humanly possible. Through the rest of these rules, I'll show you tactics on how to show up as her more frequently. You're not going to be perfect. There are always going to be little moments where your old identity creeps in, but the fact that you are even distinguishing between an old identity and a new identity is all you need to know right now. Between who you used to be, even if who you used to be literally was yesterday, and who you are now. And I would be fiercely boundaried about the difference between those two people and fiercely protective about the characteristics of this new version that you are deciding to be. Rule number 2 is where it gets fun. This is to truly understand your why. It sounds cliche, but understanding why you really want to rebrand is going to be the difference between you sticking to this plan and you abandoning it for all the old habits that start creeping in. When I got very real with myself last year on why I wanted to show up differently, shit got very real. I had to be vulnerable enough and real enough with myself to be okay with the fact that in some cases my why was a little bit petty. It was not as mature as I would hoped it would be. It was not giving be the bigger person. It was very much so giving I want every single fucking person who has ever fucked with me to regret the day that they did that. And I'm saying that out loud right now and it sounds funny, but in reality, I don't identify as a spiteful person. I don't identify as a resentful person. And I sure as hell do not identify as a vengeful person. I'm literally dead ass right now. I have never, ever gone out of my way or done anything to seek out revenge on someone who's hurt me, whether it's a toxic ex, whether it's someone in the workplace that did me wrong. I have never gone and retaliated against anyone. But what I had to be real with myself about is that my glow up has always, up until this point, been fueled by the desire to make people regret losing me. Always. Every single time, whether it was family relationships that kind of went awry, whether it was someone that I had dated in the past who was sleeping on me, I have always taken pleasure in the thought that I'm going to become someone so phenomenal that every single person who fumbled me will regret it. I'm being super honest with you guys right now. Like, this is the most real and vulnerable I've ever been on social media because I want you to see that I'm a very mature, poised, classy woman who also has childish thoughts sometimes. It is okay. If your reason for rebranding is because you want your ex-husband or ex-boyfriend to literally stalk you on Instagram, do not judge yourself for that. If that motivator is petty and a little bit toxic like mine, let it drive you. But please do not let it define you. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that who you are deciding to embody today is so much bigger and will always be so much bigger than the people you are doing it in spite of. It is okay to grieve in such a way that who you become for the rest of your life will always be in spite of how those people treated you. That being said, you will likely never be able to prove that you made them feel the way that you wanted to make them feel. And in my experience, what I really recognized is that it was never actually about them. It felt good, and I'll give you a couple examples in a little, but like it felt good to be like, bro, I glowed the fuck up. I ended up doing so much better, or my success speaks for itself, and I never needed those people that tried to take advantage of me or tried to manipulate me or broke my heart or lied to me. All of that stuff, right? It felt really good. There was this like, I felt like it was scratching an itch. However, the biggest flex was always how I felt about myself. This cannot work, and I need to reiterate this. This cannot work if you end up glowing up but still feel like shit about yourself. Your glow up will always be about how you see yourself. It will always be about whether or not you are proud of yourself. You and I probably know way too many gorgeous, beautiful women who have glowed up physically, let's say, because they wanted to get back at the ex who fumbled them. But then when they look in the mirror, they still see themselves as unattractive, unworthy, not good enough. So what did they really do? For what? You're still giving that person the keys to your self-esteem. That is not what I'm saying here, and I really want to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from. The thought of proving people wrong who did not bet on me is very fun for me. That being said, that is not my sole motivator. And that being said, when I wake up feeling fucking phenomenal about all I've been able to do in my life, I don't think about them. Just keep that in mind. Let it drive you. Do not let it define you or the journey that you are on. Your journey is far too big and important to be defined by someone who tried to sabotage it.
Okay, enough about them.
Let's just get right back onto you. Rule number 3. Now is where you start bringing her to life physically. If you want to give her like a Sasha Fierce alter ego name, that's all you. Go ahead and do that. When I rebranded to Rima's Rules, that very much so was kind of an alter ego moment where I wanted to give myself space and permission to be the bossy, low-key, tough loving girl that I am. I had been healing through a lot of caring too much how people perceived me, and ironically caring too much that people thought I was intimidating. So I would turn the volume down on how I normally talk or the forcefulness that I sometimes say things, because I didn't want to feed into that intimidation. I have a lot of videos about people pleasing. Feel free to go check those out if that's something you struggle with. Rima's Rules is all about leaning into that. Yes, girl. If I'm intimidating or if you are intimidated by me, that ain't my problem. I'm going to say things the way that they come through my head, because I truly think the rawness and realness of my message will be appreciated by the people that I actually want listening to them. And so if you need to name it something to help bring that to life, by all means. In my recent video about how I changed my entire life, I talk about what's called embodiment triggers. These are little things that you do, whether it's dyeing your hair or getting a different perfume or having a different lock screen on your phone. And when you see these things, they should trigger the new identity that you are being. They should trigger the person who you are now embodying. So I'm gonna tell you guys a story that I have never said out loud, and I wonder if anyone's gonna understand this or if I'm just crazy. So way before Ahmed and I met, I was in a toxic relationship, and when I finally decided to break up with this person, I was kind of in my own version of a rebrand. And that rebrand was very much so fueled by wanting him to see how bad his life was gonna suck without me. I don't know why, but literally the first thing that came to my mind was to dye my hair. And I'm not gonna lie, like I wasn't as mature as I am today, where it was like,
focus on you, this is about you, whatever you do to glow up is about you.
I was trying to provoke him because we still used to go work out at the same gym, and just something about the idea of showing up looking like a new bitch, it just made me feel good. And then what was even crazier about that is I went on this website for this salon that I used to go to back in Michigan. I shit you not. The literal freaking banner on the salon page said, "New hair is the best revenge," or something insane like that. And I was like, whoa, if this wasn't my sign. At the time, my hair was kind of like this dark auburn red. So I decided to go jet black. And so the thought of like showing up the next day to the gym looking like a whole new bitch was so yummy to me. And it really felt like revenge. Of course, like the person doesn't matter at all. It's not about him. It was never about him. I proceeded to glow my life up like never before. I have never leveled up in my life more than I leveled up that year. Like I ended up getting into a top 10 business school. I was happily single and living my best life. I was getting my body right. My life was just on the up and up. And that was truly the sweetest revenge. I want you to do certain things right now that literally physically embody the version of you that you have committed to. This water bottle is an embodiment trigger for me.
It's very cute, very demure, very classy.
But more importantly, it reminds me that I'm a happy, hydrated girly. Every time I look at it, that's how I feel. And if I wake up one day and don't feel that way looking at it, guess what? We're gonna get rid of her and we're gonna get a new one that makes me feel that way. This is not your sign to go be a consumer and buy a bunch of shit. It could really just be the outfits that you put together. It could be the way that you decide to make your vision board, which I will likely be doing a video on how I'm doing it this year because I'm doing it a lot differently. It could be the morning routine that you decide to do. Like there just needs to be a daily trigger to remind you of who you have now decided to embody. And if you have some ideas for what that is, drop them below. I'd be so curious, and I'm sure other people would love to see how they can start doing that too. Rule number 4 is to remind yourself every single day of how you are different now. This really builds nicely from the embodiment triggers. And one thing that I did in 2024 that I know completely changed the trajectory of my year was I committed to doing something every day to surprise myself. I started this at the beginning of the year in January, and they would be little simple things. And I remember at the time I was actually at my brother's house in Dubai, and it's like 3 to 4 stories of stairs. And someone needed to take the dog out one last time before we all went to sleep. It was like 1 a.m. And if you had asked anyone in my family, who is the last person who would get up and do it, had you asked them at the time, who is the last person in this room who was gonna get up while we're all comfy under covers and go take the dog out, they would have all said me, because if I'm comfortable on the couch, I am not getting up. So I'm like, this is an amazing opportunity for me to surprise myself. And in this case, I also had the added benefit of getting like crazy reactions from everyone else, which was fun. But I'm like, I got it, I'll do it. And I literally got up and everyone's like too stunned to speak. And I went and took the dog out, and it was like kind of chilly at night too. So I took the dog out and like surprised myself, and I loved the feeling. It was so much less about my family's reaction and so much more about my reminder to self that I am different now. The best way to describe the whole purpose of this entire video is, if you're really seeking revenge out from anyone, it needs to be your past self, because she's the bitch. As much as we love her and as far as she's gotten us, she's the bitch that's trying to tell us that we can't. She's the one that's trying to project her fixed mindsets onto us. She's the one that is trying to keep us safe, but is keeping us so comfortable that it's preventing us from being who we want to be, because she's telling us,
remember what happened last time? Don't kid yourself. You'll never get past January 15th. Every year you make a resolution, you fail.
She's telling us all of these negative things because she's trying to get us to become a replica of who she is, because she's so attached to her identity. And she knows that if you change and become someone different, she dies. So anytime you surprise yourself and you do something to remind yourself, I'm different now, you are letting her know that she has no control over you. You are letting her know that you, this person that you've decided to embody today, is the creator of their reality, and she needs to sit back and shut up. She does not get a say in who you are becoming. If you can master this, the act of reminding yourself daily that you are different now, nothing in this freaking world is gonna stop you. Nobody on this planet will have power over you, because you will constantly be reminding yourself that the only person that can create your reality is you at this very moment. That's when things get freaking interesting. The most beautiful part about that challenge is I started trusting myself so much that it didn't even have to be a daily thing anymore. It's not like every single day I had to check off. Like at the beginning, that is how I did it. And I got so good at it that I started trusting myself to just be different whenever the I wanted to be different. So it didn't need to be this daily check-in that was so rigid anymore, because I know that I will never bind myself to something I said today. If today I say that I'm doing this and tomorrow I decide I want to be different, I have so much faith in the next version of me, the most evolved version of me at the moment, to drive the boat. Because she is always the one driving the boat. And life will get so much more interesting when you put that trust in yourself and you show yourself that you can change literally whenever you want. Rule number 5 is to measure progress accurately. I went on a trip with family in November to London. And if you're anything like me, you've done all of this amazing self-work, you've read all these self-development books, and anytime you're around things that trigger you, like family, you are just like, I'm gonna be so different this time. Like, I know that I'm just someone new and I'm just going to show up as my best self regardless who triggers me. And over again, over the past like 5 years of this happening, I would be so upset with myself on a family trip because I would feel like the most triggered, most reactive version of myself. And I would be so mad at myself because I'm like, what was all this work for? Like, you think that you've changed, but in reality, every time you get triggered by people in your family, you just react and lash out in the way that you said you're not doing anymore. And so on this recent trip, I'm like, no, I really think I'm different now. Like, I really know I'm different. I trust myself. And I almost started to be mad at myself because I found myself still getting very triggered by certain things in my family, which is normal. Like, me and my family are very close. But of course, the people who are equipped to trigger you the most are the ones who love you the most and that you love the most because you care the most. So when I felt all these triggers start popping up, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do I have to do? I need to go get freaking hypnotized for me to stop being triggered. And I remember I like took some alone time in our room and I'm like, wait, why am I measuring my success or progress based on how triggered I am? Shouldn't I be measuring my success towards how I react to those triggers? So I'm like, oh, because I kind of talk to myself sometimes in my head. I'm like, wait, that's actually so interesting. Okay, so if I were to measure my progress, not based on the level of triggers, but based on the trigger to reaction ratio. I'm such a nerd, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like the proportion, like is my reaction different? If I was triggered by the same thing last time Did I react the same way? And the answer over and over and over again was fuck no. I have reacted so much more aligned to my higher self this time around on every single occasion. Like, I have not allowed the unwanted reactions to surface this time because I truly am a different person. So much so that I can still feel a heightened level of emotion, which I did, and then react down here. I can feel up here, and the thing that comes out of my mouth is all the way down here. And that was like such a beautiful moment because it was, number one, just it routed me towards what's actually important here. Are you really gonna judge yourself based on the emotions you have around your family? Or are you gonna judge yourself based on how you react to those things? So as a matter of fact, this is actually more impressive because if you were mad as hell and then reacted calmly, that counts for more than feeling calmly and reacting calmly. Like, if anything, you owe yourself a huge congratulations and a lot of credit for reacting in a way that was so far removed from the emotion you felt at that moment. That being said, I do have faith that, like, as I continue to grow and evolve, the triggers will change. But I do believe now that triggers are an opportunity for you to measure your progress. I don't look at my triggers anymore as a sign that I've failed. As a matter of fact, I look at triggers now as a fun opportunity to prove to myself I am different now. I am different now. You can't get me. These buttons that you're pushing, yeah, they're still there, but no sirens are going off when you push them anymore. Yeah, you know my buttons. That's okay. We're family. We love each other. We're very close. You might be intentionally pushing them. You might be unintentionally pushing them. Regardless, the buttons are there, but I'm not reacting to those buttons the way that I used to. And I'm so damn proud of myself for that. And I do have faith if I am constantly reacting neutrally and showing myself this is not actually who I am anymore, then naturally I believe that those triggers are just going to die off. But in the meantime, while they might still be here, they have no control over me. And I want you to do the same thing, my love. I do not want you to be mad at yourself if sitting on the couch still triggers binge eating. Of course it is. You have literally created a link between watching Netflix, sitting on the couch, and binge eating. So your brain is just doing what it was told to do. So it's not about whether or not you get that trigger. Don't be mad at yourself for craving the food, my love. Measure yourself on the choice that you make next. Are you gonna go to the fridge and get snacks that are more aligned? Or maybe you're gonna get snacks that are less healthy and just portion control them. Or maybe you ain't gonna do nothing at all because you've already prepared for this and you decided you're not gonna be eating snacks tonight because you're actually not hungry. Just don't be upset with yourself for the feeling. Do hold yourself accountable to the thing that happens after you've had the feeling. If you get to a place when you can interrupt the feeling to action funnel or pipeline, you got it. You have rebranded. If you can have a feeling and you can interrupt the thought that comes from that feeling and therefore manipulate what action comes next, you have cracked the freaking code. And I'm so excited for you to let me know that you've been able to do that. Rule number 6 is to understand when you're in the gap and when you are in the gain. This rule is actually inspired by a recent book that I read called The Gap and the Gain. And essentially what the research shows is that a lot of us come into things with a lack mindset. And this lack mindset primes us to notice what we still aren't doing right or the progress that we are yet to make. And it doesn't prime us to focus on all of the progress that we've already made towards that goal. How many of us have been, down to our last 5 pounds or last 10 pounds, and instead of noticing the 20 pounds that came before that we've already lost successfully, we're hyper aware of the last 5 pounds that we would like to use. And this is a very relevant example for me because I spent my whole life in the gap, focusing on, okay, well, there's this huge gap between where I'm at now and where I want to be. Or maybe it's, in your case, maybe it's your career trajectory. Maybe there is a specific role or promotion that you're looking at and it's like, this is the next best thing that I want. And instead of looking at all the progress that you've been able to make to get you to this freaking position where that role is even viable to you, you're looking at the 6-month time frame or whatever it takes that's going to get you to this like new salary band, for example. Like, you are discounting everything that you've been able to do. And this is not to say ever that you should settle on what you want. This is not to make any commentary whatsoever on your ambitions. I am probably one of the most ambitious people that I know. The reality is when you get yourself to a place, when you build the muscle of being so grateful and celebrating what you've been able to do, you will supercharge your ability to get to that next best thing that you want. My husband Ahmed and I were actually having this conversation the other day, because if there is one person on this planet who might be 1% more ambitious than me, it is him. We were having a conversation kind of about like something that he wanted to change in his life. He was being so hard on himself for not having it exactly the way that he wants it. The conversation that we were able to have together is, if you literally just change by 1%, and it's not the whole like 1% everyday theory, that's not what I'm talking about. I literally mean, if you just change your reaction to something by 1%, or your approach by 1%, or how early you decide to wake up by 1%. And it's like, if you visualize, like, this is where you're at now, this is the route you're on, and if you just move this way, like literally barely even noticeable to the human eye, by the end of the year, you will be in a completely different place than if you were just going in this same direction right now. Now, 1% is not an ambitious goal whatsoever. And I know that whoever I'm attracting to my channel are my ambitious baddies. I'm not telling you to just aim for changing 1%. That's not the goal in giving you this analogy. However, and I actually plugged this into ChatGPT in terms of the metaphor like a flight. And it literally said that if a flight from LA to Dubai shifted 1% in direction, the freaking plane would end up in Turkey, in Istanbul, Turkey. It would not end up in Dubai. The whole point is it would end up in a freaking place with different cuisine, different language, different culture, different people, different, topography. Not to be too nerdy, but like the whole point is that was a 1% shift over time that led to literally an entirely new outcome. So I say that to say I'm very confident that you can make a 30% shift, a freaking 40-50% shift. The idea is stop being so hard on yourself and recognize how much these tiny changes that you're making are truly compounding and adding up over time. And instead of focusing on where you are not yet, where you have not yet arrived, I want you to focus on all that you've done so far so that you can collect all this wind beneath your wings to get you there, not just faster and better, but freaking happier and more appreciative. Because the last thing that I want for you is to build this muscle of always being in a lack mindset, and then looking at yourself in the mirror when you get to where you said you wanted to be and not being able to see it, because you have trained your eyes and your brain to see something wrong with you at every freaking phase of your life. If you start training your brain right now to be in the gain, or in other words, to see all that you've already done, even if it's not numbers based, even if it's not tangible to other people, but maybe it's in your attitude, maybe it's in the perspective, or like I said, the different reactions that you're starting to have to the same triggers, that counts for everything. If you train your brain to see the areas where you're already them, you're already her, you're already being that person, you will prime yourself to believe in yourself and trust yourself, and most importantly, actually recognize when you've arrived. Last but certainly not least, because this is very controversial, do not tell people what you are working on. I repeat, move in silence. Move in silence. If 2024 Rima, this is to show you how much I've truly rebranded and taken my own advice. If 2024 Rima heard me giving this advice, she would be shook, because I was not a move in silence girly. Like, I'm a professional yapper. This is what I do for work. This is what I do on YouTube. Like, I talk my ass off, and I am the girl. I was the girl. You see how the past version of me just tried to creep in? I was the girl who used to tell people about what I wanted to do, or tell people about my goals. And the reason that I used to do that, number one, I have great people in my life. So if I'm telling you, it's because I trust you and you are very worthy of being trusted. And number two, building on that, I really did not like how I interpreted people's advice around moving in silence. I felt like the reason that people kept telling everyone, like,
move in silence, don't let them know your next move,
it was very rooted in like a negative place of mistrust towards the people in your life. And I'm like, if I'm calling you to tell you what my next move is, it's because I know you care about me and love me. I would never be sharing that with someone who I don't think has good intentions for me. So I just resisted that advice and kind of discounted it. I will say this version of me today recognizes that the people who I have in my life, thank God, are people who are rooting for me. They are people who love me. They want to celebrate me. What I have discovered though is my reason for moving in silence and not telling those people in my life who love me is not because I do not trust them. It is because I have finally trusted trusted in myself so much that I don't need to put it out there and get feedback on it. And something very interesting happens psychologically. When you tell everyone your goals, your brain kind of checks it off like, okay, well, I did it. Even though you didn't do shit, you might not even have even started working on it. You might be telling people like, I'm gonna go to the gym 5 times a week. I'm getting a gym membership. You might not have even got the membership yet. And now it kind of already feels, because you brought it to life prematurely, it feels as though you've accomplished it. When in reality, you've put it out there energetically before you brought it to life. So that's number one. Number one is it can create this false sense of accomplishment. Number two, and this is where I'm really at with it. Sometimes, and you have to be very honest with yourself, sometimes your reason for telling people what you're about to do before you do it comes from a lack of self-trust. It comes from a place of wanting to get people's sign off, wanting to feed off of their excitement or energy, wanting to get their feedback or affirmation on whether that's even something you should be doing in the ways that you're saying you're going to do it. And I would really caution you, if you are sensing that that's where it's coming from, please, my love, if you even have a 1% inkling that you should not be saying it, just keep it to yourself. Because what you might be reacting to intuitively is that you are waiting for other people's energy and an energetic stamp on this thing in order for you to feel like it is something that you should act on. 10 times out of 10. People are not going to meet you with excitement. They are not going to meet you with green flags or a green light or enthusiasm not because they don't love you. Calm down. It's because it was never their vision to begin with. And so the feelings and the trust and the excitement and the intuition that you have around this idea that you want to do, even if it's something tiny, like I didn't tell anyone in my life that I started intermittent fasting until I was thick into it. And the reason being, I have people in my family who are so health conscious with good intention. They were going to have a lot of other ideas and thoughts, but my reason for why I knew this worked for me, it's not about calories. It's not about science. It's none of that. I just was excited about it, and that's why it was going to work, and that's why it has worked, is because I've been excited about it from the day I started. And I guarantee you, had I brought that up to my very well-intentioned family, they would have had questions naturally. It's like, okay, you're bringing it to the table, so clearly you want us to ask you about it. Like, oh, why are you doing that? Oh, why don't you just do this though? Do you actually think that's healthy? Like, they have every right to be Debbie Downers in that moment because you have put it out onto the table for everyone to examine and leave their commentary on. And so I had to be an adult and realize, if I want to preserve the excitement of this idea that I think is right for me and me only, okay, I'm not imposing it on anyone else, then I need to just shut the fuck up and keep it to myself, okay? If you have a business venture, if you have a idea for social media, if you are talking to someone romantically and you are still in the very infant phases of wanting to feel excited and self-assured about this thing, please, my love, just protect it. Don't say it out loud until you have brought it to life, okay? Until you are sure about this thing and until you trust yourself enough to know that regardless what the hell anybody says, does, thinks, you're still doing it, keep it to yourself. And when you do get to a point where you have so much faith in your ability, like right now, I'm not gonna stop intermittent fasting. I don't care who tells me to stop. I don't care what books they recommend to me. I don't care what YouTube videos, like I'm so self-assured in my process for now. It could change down the line, but for now, I'm so self-assured in that I'm comfortable now talking about it. There's a few other things that I can't tell you right now because I'm taking my own advice that are happening in my personal life. And these are things that I would typically get my family's opinions on. And I decided to decide on those things with me and my husband without talking to anyone about it because this was between he and I. This is our life. And then once things were finalized, we ended up announcing it to the family. And because we were so assured and because it was a done deal, all they had to do was be excited. All they had to do was match energy. So when you come up with a plan and you execute on that plan in silence, and then you start getting results or even like just more self-assuredness, and this idea has now been brought, you've given birth to it yourself because you are the only freaking parent of this thing. Okay, God has given you this idea to you, not to anyone else, and you've given birth to it and you're taking care of it and you feel confident in it. You can now share it with the people you love and trust to then meet that thing with love and excitement as well. Because I do believe in the importance of having a community, having a support system, having people around you who do want the best for you. And I really, really don't like the notion of everyone's trying to give me the evil eye or don't trust them or you never know who's jealous. I just don't live my life like that. I'm not saying it's not true, but I just don't don't focus on that. I want to focus on the people who love me, okay? And only when I can come across self-assured about what I'm doing can I give room for those people to be excited right alongside me. And what that has built for me this year is really learning how to trust my intuition. When you block out the noise, it's amazing. When you block out the noise, even friendly noise, even loving noise, and you block it out and you sit in this figurative conference room with yourself, you can now hear yourself talk, and that is the voice that soothes you. You don't need to get your big brother's opinion, in my case, to make a decision, because you've made a decision. Once you've made that decision, sure, like you can have really fruitful conversations with the people in your life about that thing. But it's taught me to listen to my intuition and to hear it, and to have so much faith that I'm going to know the right thing to do. And I do want to add a little nuance to this. Sometimes the right thing to do is to ask a specific person for advice. And that's something I've really been working on. I actually hit my brother up this weekend and I was like, hey, can we talk one-on-one? And when we got on the phone, he's like, yeah, why'd you want to talk one-on-one? Like, do you not want anyone to know? I'm like, honestly, no, I don't care if anyone knows what I'm about to tell you. It's just, I'm trying to get better at really being specific about who I want advice from. So instead of telling the whole family something I was working on and getting everyone's thoughts and advice, I had decided to take a specific course of action, and included in that specific course of action was get Mac's opinion, because he knows a lot about this area. See how much more intentional that is? And see how now seeking out feedback is not a permission process, it's not a validation process, but it's more so seeking counsel from an expert because you decided that that's what you should do on your course of action that you decided on. Trust me, my love, whatever this New Year's resolution is, whatever it is, move in silence. If you are feeling excited about something, career-wise, relationship-wise, freaking personal development-wise, or health-wise, if you are feeling excited about something and you feel in your intuition that this is the right next step for you, protect that excitement fiercely. And then once you've brought it to life in the way that you wanted to bring it to life, tell everybody and their freaking mom. Who cares? At that point, celebrate all you want and share it with whoever you want. But as you are bringing this very fragile thing into life, please, my love, just move with silence. Just try it. Just try it. Try it with one thing this year. Move in silence and see if you don't build so much self-trust along the way. It gets so dark out here so freaking fast, and it just, I don't know if it's giving like sultry vibes or if it's giving like it's time to go to sleep vibes, but it's literally only freaking 5 o'clock, which is so crazy. But in any case, my love, you have a lot to do. You are working on the most important rebrand in your entire life. Like, this is literally going to be the most epic freaking year, and I know it. And I know it because I swear to you, not only have I applied exactly what the hell I just talked to you about over and over and over for 2024, which has led to, like, I can't describe to you how different I am today. And if you know me or if you've been watching me, you could tell. I know you can tell. But more importantly, I can tell. I fuck with this version of me, and I'm letting her drive. Like, whatever she says goes, because I am so in awe of the way that I've been able to change on command. As soon as I decide I don't like something, I am different now. As soon as I decide that something in my life just won't cut it anymore, boom, it's gone and something better comes in its place. And that's why I say the best revenge is not about what you do to them. It is always about who you become without them. There is not a single human being on this planet, including the past versions of yourself, who have power over you right now. There is literally not a soul who has power over you and who can stop you from becoming everything that you said you wanted to be this year and beyond. And once you build the muscle and show yourself that you can change yourself and therefore your entire life externally whenever you want on command, life becomes a game. You know how all the girlies talk about how it's just a video game? They were right. And it literally all starts with just choosing your character. I love you. I love the version of you that you've decided to embody, and every other version of you that you decide to become after that. I'm so excited for you to rebrand your entire life, and I really want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know which one of these rules spoke to you the most. And as always, my love, I am not going to tell you to like or subscribe, but I will say that if you enjoyed this video, you will be obsessed with this real talk video. It's kind of a throwback, but it is me really helping you see how who you become will have immediate implications on the life that you're creating. So watch that and let me know how you like it. I love you so much, my love, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Bye.